This is Alex Yu and you're watching the Ragin Ronin review. Antoine Fuqua is directing Tupac Shakur in September. I mean, he's not technically directing Tupac Shakur per se, but it's a biographical picture on Tupac Shakur. Get it? Alright. Ken Watanabe, who we saw in The Last Samurai and Batman Begins, will be doing his directorial debut in a World War II film called The 442nd, which is about Japanese-American suicide bombers. On the comic book superhero front, Christopher Nolan, who is godfathering the new Superman movie written by David S. Goyer, says that David S. Goyer really knows what he's doing with the project and he really has faith in him. Okay, first of all, let's get this godfathering lingo out of the way, because they're always using it. Why don't they just say that he's the producer of the movie? Sheesh. Okay, with regards to what they're doing with the story, what they're gonna do is rather than make it a sequel and continue where they left off at Superman 2, like what Bryan Singer did, instead they're gonna bring it back to its roots and tell people where Superman came from. That sounds very interesting. Dark Horse has just revealed some new artwork for Frank Miller's upcoming graphic novel Xerxes, which is a prequel to 300. There is no word on when filming will take place, but it's in the works. The graphic novel will be a 6-part series and will be much larger in scope because it's going to take place over the course of 10 years. Frank Miller has no desire to direct this movie. Thank God. And most likely Zack Snyder will be in charge of helming this project. In other news, the Crow reboot is done writing and is moving forward. They said it's going to be more like a creature rather than a bird, and it will be filming this year. Stephen Norrington is the writer-director for this reboot. Norrington is no stranger to comic book movies, as he directed the awesome first Blade movie and the horrible League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Hopefully the third time's a charm. Okay, now let's talk Marvel. There is new concept art showing what Captain America will look like. And there's also concept art for Thor. Pretty cool, eh? Thor hits theaters on May 6, 2011. And Captain America comes out in theaters on July 22nd on the same year. Joe Johnston is directing Captain America, and Kenneth Branagh will be directing Thor. As for casting news, Neil McDonough has been cast as S.H.I.E.L.D. team member Dum Dum Dugan, and Jeremy Renner is in negotiations to play Hawkeye in The Avengers. Originally, the Jeremy Renner casting news was supposed to be a rumor, but now it looks like it's coming to reality. However, the original cast of Avengers did not include the addition of Hawkeye, so they could be adding him at the very last minute. I personally think that Jeremy Renner is perfect for Hawkeye. In other superhero casting news, Mark Strong will be playing Sinestro in the Martin Campbell directed Green Lantern. Here's what Ryan Reynolds will look like as Hal. And this will be his third outing as a character in a comic book movie. He first played Hannibal King in Blade Trinity, and then Deadpool in X-Men Origins. Both movies kinda sucked. This movie will be in 3D and will be released on June 17, 2011. Now let's talk Spider-Man. There's a Twitter campaign to cast Danny Glover as Peter Parker in the Mark Webber directed Spider-Man reboot. I mean, there's a Twitter campaign to have Donald Glover to play Peter Parker in the Spider-Man reboot. That's Donald Glover. Not Donald Duck, not Danny Glover, Donald Glover. You know, I'm all for launching new faces in show business, but one thing that movie adaptations need to be in order for them to work is to be somewhat accurate to the original material. And I think if you change as much as the skin color of your main character, I kind of think the audience might notice something. You might as well have Jackie Chan play Venom or Carnage, or better yet, in a biographical picture of himself. In fact, remember how fans reacted when Michael Clark Duncan was casted to play Kingpin in Daredevil? Me neither. Because that movie was so forgettable that it's another superhero movie that's getting the reboot. And that's what happens when you cast an actor who is the wrong ethnic background as the original character. Speaking of which, there are tons of African American superhero and comic book character movies out there. Will Smith played 3 of them. Example, in Men in Black 1 and 2, he played Agent J. And keep in mind that Men in Black is based off a comic book. He also played Hancock, another superhero. And the third superhero he played was Muhammad Ali in Ali. He might not be a superhero, but he was definitely super, and he was a hero to many and still is, and his superhuman ability was to defeat you with his mind, not his fist. And to top things off, here is a list of other black superheroes. Blank Man, played by Damon Wayans. Meteor Man, played by Robert Townsend. Invisible Boy, played by Kel Mitchell in Mystery Men. But seriously though, there are a lot of black superheroes out there. Black Panther, Power Man, Storm, to name a few. And even Blade. Blade had 2 sequels even. And on the marketing front, check this out. Resident Evil 4, aka Resident Evil Afterlife, has a new poster, which has a focus on the fact that the movie will be presented in 3D. I'm not a big fan of the Resident Evil series, but I've seen them all, and I definitely want to watch the 4th one for one reason. Because this is the only other film other than Avatar that is shot entirely in 3D. All the other films that we've been watching recently have been converted to 3D in post-production, with the original intention to not be in 3D or even in IMAX. The only films that I can think of that were shot in IMAX were certain scenes in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen and The Dark Knight. But even Clash of the Titans Titans was converted to 3D afterwards in post-production, and it was not worth the extra amount of money paid for the price of a 3D movie because the conversion was rushed and sloppy. Resident Evil Afterlife is the next movie to use James Cameron's newly developed IMAX 3D fusion cameras that he developed for Avatar. This film, regardless of how mindlessly repetitive it is, will look beautiful on the silver screen. Looks like December 16, 2011 is going to be a big day for the domestic box office. Warner Brothers, Paramount, and Fox are going to do some serious battle over the holiday season because Warner Brothers is going to be releasing the sequel to Sherlock Holmes, Paramount is releasing Mission Impossible 4, and Fox is releasing Alvin and the Chipmunks 3D on the same day. I predict that Sherlock Holmes 2 or Mission Impossible 4 is going to move, and Alvin and the Chipmunks is going to stay. Why? Because they're totally different demographics. Alvin and the Chipmunks is for kids over the holiday season, and the demographic that watches Sherlock Holmes 2 and Mission Impossible 4 is basically the same. So if either studio wants to be financially strategic, one of them is going to change their release date. I'm going to say that Mission Impossible 4 is going to change their date. It's just simple economics. You can't have two holiday tentpoles on the same day because it rarely has been done. And in other release news, Sony Pictures has released their upcoming slate of movies, which included the Spider-Man reboot in 3D, The Green Hornet, Men in Black 3D, the second sequel to Ghostbusters, and Avatar 2. I mean the Smurfs live-action movie. And that's all I have to say for this webisode's round of movie updates. Tune in next time as I give you more news and reviews. This is Alex Yu, and you are watching the Ragin Ronin Review. Peace! Shit. Hello? Hello, can I call you right back? I'm filming something right now. Bye.